Hello there. Last week I was completely unable to record anything. Sadly, something really big happened in my country, as you can know by now. And if you do not know, basically we had the strongest or one of the strongest earthquakes in the history of my country. And there were several hundreds and at this point thousands that have died. But for better or worse, and in this case, certainly worse, life keeps moving forward. And as such, I will keep with the channel and the regular videos from it. With all of that, that's why I might sound slightly not as happy as I'm usually, because, this is still very recent. And as such, I'm sorry personally, but there's things that are bigger than life. But for now, just let's keep moving forward. With all the things that happened, I was basically unable to watch any new anime. That was basically impossible for me because I had no time between working and all of the things about helping others. It was very difficult. However, earlier in the week, they decided to give me the week off. So I was able to actually watch some things. And the most important of them all is very unique. And that one is one of the surprises for me for the season of spring, which is Nippon Sangoku. Nippon Sangoku was a show that I had absolutely no idea what should I have expected from it. It was a show in which it was about war, but I didn't knew anything else than that. And I was honestly pleasantly surprised in a weird way. Let's start with the things. There's certain things that I don't like that much about the show. For example, the last chapter. I'm not gonna spoil things because I think that that would be unfair, but in the first half of the chapter, there's something that feels kinda rushed. We have a full season of this show that I'm gonna explain later on how it is, but then they have this last chapter in which the first half is, as I'm saying, kind of rush compared to the rest of the season. And I feel like that is very odd. The other thing is that this show is in a weird way with the animation, and my cat is biting my leg. Wait a second. Goldship, what are you doing? Yeah, her name is Goldship. She didn't like it, Pocket, so I changed it. Yeah. The animation is extremely unique, which is something that I'm gonna mention later on. In fact, in the positives. But it's also very, very weird, period. So if you're not used to this type of animation, you might not like it. And I'm making that advice of you watching the first episode and just checking out if you actually like the animation. It is a good animation, but it's extremely weird. Even more than JoJo's, that is a show that is very, very commonly portrayed as one of the weird type of animations that push a lot of people aside just because of how off it feels at times. So, with all of that in mind, I will keep moving for the positives. The first thing that I want to talk in the positives, just like I mentioned, is the animation. I know that it's an animation that is very unconventional. You might not have seen anything similar to this in any other anime, and you might not see anything else similar in any other anime unless this anime actually decides to have a second season. But the animation looks really good. Like, it's very weird. The art style, the character design, it's very unconventional, but in a good way. It feels unique, it feels good, it feels fresh. All of those are things that you kinda want in a show in which the designs by themselves are not particularly insane nor unique, for the most part. But thanks to this unique art style and never seen before type of animation, I think that it helps a lot to enhance how good these characters look. Because if it was in any other art style, as I'm saying, it would be just very, very generic or very simple. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is about the plot and the story itself. Because, it's very difficult to actually try to explain why a show is good if you have no idea what the show is all about. Nippon Sangoku is a very weird story. In a world in which Japan completely dissolved, now there's three nations that are remaining in Japan, which all of them want to be the full-on former nation of Nippon and the genuine people of Japan. Every single one of them has their own unique political system. Some of them are more republics, there are others that are more like a monarchy. There's also things that are different economically in every single one of them. Some of them are more from the trade, others for just more traditional type of markets, and every single one of them, as I'm saying, is very different, but all of them have the same goal in mind. Now, this concept makes it very interesting because we have a very huge dichotomy in terms of technology by itself. Because, in one hand, this is post modern Japan. There is a lot of things that are from modern war. There's things like guns, structures that are from the 21st century, and things like that. Yet, because Japan was kinda devastated by this thing that happened with the former one, there is a lot of abandonment and a lot of things that are actually like the former Edo Japan, potentially, maybe even earlier. So, as I'm saying, we have a very unique dichotomy in which things like swords can actually coexist with others like guns, and it doesn't feel wrong. It's very cool and very unique. And in all of this, there is the story of one guy that is the main protagonist of it. Mizumi is a farmer, a guy that wants to live a simpler life. Yet he is someone that is also extremely intelligent. He is someone that has read a lot, and he knows basically everything possible from anything of what you would actually want for any setting. He might not be the best by actually using that knowledge, but he is very knowledgeable, and that is very important. However, something happens that makes him change the way in which he actually sees the world. In the first chapter, something big happens. I'm not gonna say what happens with him, but basically he is forced to change the way in which he uses his knowledge, from just being knowledgeable to actually putting said knowledge into action. And as such, this is how he's gonna start his quest to try to make his specific country a way better one, because it is very flawed and it's very corrupt. Something very important in this story, as usual with military type of stories, is how important certain individual aspects are. In another regular show, you might not see a lot about corruption, because why would you see corruption in a show that has nothing to do with that? We are watching Luffy. We do not care about corruption. Wait, One Piece does have corruption. That might not have been a good example. Oh, goddamn. But in this case, is one of the main focuses, how the country of Mizumi has an emperor that is basically just a puppet, because its minister is the one that is pulling the strings of everything. How there's several different instances in which someone can make abuse of power, and how basically in every level this country, even though it's the one that Mizumi loves, is actually rotten to the core. So in this quest to actually make this country better is where this entire story relies on. Early on is mostly a type of war or military type of story. You will have several different tactics and different incidents between two nations specifically. The nation of Mizumi, that I forgot the name, and that's the reason why I'm not mentioning it, and the other nation that I also forgot the name. Sorry, I am not thinking about individual names right now for reasons, if you haven't noticed by the earlier parts of the video. Basically, the first things that we know about these are all of them related with war in one way or another. And there is where the most important part of this story comes into play, which is the characters. In this type of videos, I usually praise a lot of different characters and then I finish with the punchline of one specific one that is better than others. There is one issue with this one, however, and is that there's several different characters that are actually great, and I am unable to actually say which one is the better one of them all. Basically, there's like half a dozen characters whose characterization is amazing and impalute. It's perfect in what they want to portray with that specific character. Let me try to go from the least important to the most, because it's very difficult, but there's one clear case of the least important of the actually good ones, which is the Emperor Fuji III. He is actually just a coward. He is someone that you kinda despise as to how useless he is and to how scared he is from basically everything. He is the puppet emperor that I mentioned earlier, and he is someone that is constantly used by its minister that basically has influencing him in basically every possible regard. Not only he killed basically every other opposition to the potential emperor, but also his father. And he was always the most important alongside them. He even forced Fuji to marry his daughter, which makes it so it's very obvious why he is constantly used. And he is, as I'm saying, scared of everything. He is someone that seems that he can potentially be smart, potentially, but he never portrays it because he's always scared of basically everything. And we see him doing that, and he makes a good portrayal of it. But I would not talk about him as a good character if it wasn't because of the last chapter, or the second to last one. He has something that happens there that is very cool and makes this character an actually interesting one. That is immediately tossed aside because we're not gonna talk about that, but that second half of the ending is really huge. Then we have the minister itself, Denki. He is undisputably the main villain of this whole story. He is the one that is pulling the strings to make this nation his own. Even though he is technically a subordinate of the emperor, that kinda doesn't matter. He is the one that has basically all of the pseudo ministers or sub ministers. He basically has the control of everything within the realm of possibility for a minister to have. And he is basically way more powerful than the Emperor, which just so happens to exist. He is not gonna allow anything to slip through his hands. If there's someone that knows a little bit too much, that person is gone. If there is someone that does the smallest thing that inconveniences him, he is potentially also gone. He is someone that is very dumb looking, but he is ruthless. He is insanely threatening despite looking like a goofus. I don't know why I say goofus, but he feels like a goofus. And that is one of the things that I truly love about the show, how the appearances are so deceitful. Certain characters can look like they are potentially intelligent, yet they are not. And there's also the other side, in which characters like Denki, that look just like a minor inconvenience, are actually so damn scary for everyone involved. Every single character, with no exception. Then we have multiple other characters that are actually the main characters, like Yoshitsune, the deuteragonist of the story, which, if you do not know what deuteragonist mean, don't worry. Me neither. Yoshitsune is basically the second main protagonist of this story, just slightly less important than Mizumi, but someone that is gonna constantly appear in basically every single chapter of the story. He is someone that happened to know Mizumi because of certain reasons and certain things that happen, and now, even if he doesn't like it, they are together in this weird war. Because the way in which they had the opportunity to actually influence this nation was going through the military. And that's why they ended up stumbling in the weird war that we are looking at. In the middle of all of this war, there's the character that I think that is the more interesting to look at when we talk strictly about strategy. And if you're someone that likes strategy and that type of things in military stories, then Kaku might be your favorite character. Kaku is basically the strategist. Once again, something that I'm not mentioning before, but once again I am gonna do it, is how good the designs are. This character is amazing looking. Not because he's extremely handsome, not because he is something very unique, but how simple is portrayed the idea of strategies. How simple he's portrayed as a logical character to have on high regards. Every single character has their own unique design that enhances the idea of what they are, and Kaku is no exception. The simple ponytail with the weird small bits of beard that are completely opposing to what he looks like because he looks kind of feminine is absolutely gorgeous in a literal sense. Not that I'm in love with Kaku. I mean, I am, but that is beyond the point. And with the strategies itself, he is insanely smart. You're gonna see unique ideas utilizing everything within this unique world to make things happen. And that is fantastic. But not only that, but he is realistic, which is something very important. He knows that he's smart. He knows what he can do within the realm of possibilities. Yet, if there is nothing that you can do, then he will not be able to do it. He can only hope for miracles at times. Yet, he cannot make miracles itself. He is the strategist. He is not the military behind all of this. But in the middle of all of this war is where we have the two most interesting characters that we have seen in the first season. But first, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Mizumi because I don't want to leave him aside. Mizumi is very interesting because of what I already stated. He is someone that basically portrays the idea of trying to make the world a better place throughout influence or throughout his own idea of just talking. Because he's so knowledgeable, he wants to do everything with the knowledge that he has. He's someone that understands that he's not strong. He's not gonna change the war by leading the war. He's not gonna change the entire war. He's not gonna combine, he's not gonna unite Japan by just killing people. No, he's gonna unite Japan by his war, by what he knows or what is important. And that is fantastic, even if not insanely, you know, exciting for the main protagonist. It doesn't matter because the other characters are the exciting ones to see, which are the already mentioned main characters of the actual arc of the war. The main villain or the antagonist of the first arc is the leader of the nation that they are opposing, which is Wajima. This woman is amazing. This woman has one of the most gorgeous designs that I have ever seen. She is stunning in every possible way. She looks amazing. She also acts in an amazing way, and she is overall a fantastic character when you look at it. She is the entire leader of a nation, yet she is not just your typical I am strong and I can kill at will and I'm better than you. No, she is someone that is kind of fragile. She is insanely strong, yet she has feelings. Feelings that are inevitable. She cries a lot for justified reasons. She sees the death of several different companions or several different subordinates. And as someone who is struggling with the war, that is something that can affect you a lot. And that makes sense. Especially for someone that, despite having a lot of military knowledge thanks to her father, she is still inexperienced. And that inexperience is what will ultimately lead to the whole mess that she put her nation onto with the death of her own strategies. I'm not gonna try to explain what happens, but it's a big before and after, and she develops a lot as a character in that span of time. It is very good to watch, and she stops being this fragile girl and she turns into a true woman, the true woman that has to lead her nation. And I really appreciate it. Yet, there is one character that actually is the reason as to why she ended up being like that, why she had to be put in all of this mess. And that guy is, of course, probably the most interesting of them all, Mr. And yeah, he is a Mr. Ryuman. Ryuman is the embodiment of the perfect military man. He's someone that has decades of experience. He's someone that very rarely, if ever, loses. He's someone that, even if it's almost impossible, he can make it possible. He is what you would say that is the perfect general. And everyone appreciates him because of that. Besides, the corrupt minister, because of course, because the corrupt ministers do not want others to shine, but that is beyond the point. He is someone that is gonna think in the most ludicrous and out of the ordinary type of strategies if they are in desperation mode. And that happens more than once. Specifically, one time he has to help Kaku, and he does one of the most insanely cool things that I have ever seen. How he just stands there. I'm not gonna say anything else because if you want to watch the show, you're gonna see it. But oh my god, it is fantastic to look at. Ryuman is a character that does everything right in terms of how a character should be portrayed. He is this unique presence that feels almost mythological in terms of how great he is. Yet he's human. He's someone that has flaws. He shows those flaws, which is the whole point of this story. Everyone has a goal in mind. They want to make this nation the best version of itself. Yet, everyone has a different perspective of how to make the nation the best version of itself. Someone wants to make it through peaceful deals. Some others want to take the power by themselves. Some others just want to make the things that they feel that they are right, even if they do not care about who is the one actually leading the pack. But regardless of all of that, that is how life it is. Even if you do not like something, even if you hate some other ways to make things work, you have to agree that, for better or worse, everyone wants to make the world a better place. At least their own world the better place. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want more content like this talking about weird shows, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I know that this video felt kinda uninspired, and once again, I'm sorry, I'm still not fully on the mood of actually recording. But regardless, I'm sorry, but whatever. I hope that you enjoyed it once again, and see you next time. Bye bye.